So, if you have never been through any form of struggle, that is the reason you are weak. That is the reason women do not respect you. That is the major reason society would never take you serious. And deep down, you know that if pressure was to test you, guess what? You would fold, you will crumble, you would end up hating yourself. And this is for a fact. Now, look at everybody you have admired. Look at every single one of them. Show me one who never went through a form of struggle, a form of pain. There's none. There is a reason why the people who suffer the most aggression, the most depression and anxiety are people who have easy lives, soft lives. I meant to tell you this now. Mind you, in my story, I embraced this lie of comfort, saying that, oh, we should seek comfort. My parents gave me comfort. But at some point, I had to realize that after looking at people's examples, people's true life examples, seeing how rich kids are suffering with depression and anxiety, I knew that at some point, I had to take that leap of faith. I knew at some point, I had to leave my comfort zone. Speaking of comfort, have you seen people who have extreme comfort? Those guys have extreme misery. There's a reason for that. If you look at your top presidents, people who have climbed up to any high point of society, right? And you can always see there's always a story of struggle, a story of pain. But look at people who are comfortable. They are weak, calm. You see, one of the biggest lies we have taken in society is, again, these lies are very dangerous because they feel like they have good intentions. But there's a saying that the road, and this saying it gives me shiver in my spine every time I hear it. The road to heaven, it feels like hell. Think about it. It feels like hell. It's a struggle. It's pain. But guess what? It has a purpose. It makes your life easier. While the road that leads to hell feels like heaven, it is easier. But guess what? The end of the road is hell. You don't want to be in hell. On the other part, there's a saying that gets me thinking, or got me thinking at some point. I got it from Chris Williams. He says, there's no real way to live your life. You have two options as a young man. It is either you live your life up and become an underskilled 30 years old, live your life up in your 20s and become underskilled in your 30s. Why this saying hits hard to me is because I've had people who have passed in their 30s, not because of any illness, but because of in their 20s, they played all through their 20s. Their 30s, they began to regret. On the other part of the quote says, or you can live your life down in your 20s, right? And then leave it up in your 30s. That becomes easier for you in your 30s. This is a lot. That's something to unpack because we are people who like to chase pleasure, chase comfort. But deep down, what is really going on? What is really happening? I want to ask you, what is your worst form of discomfort? I can bet it's probably what? Wi-Fi issues, girl issues. Speaking of discomfort, I remember talking to a friend who has 3 kids. And then he called me one day and said that he's having a problem. We're talking, right? Because, mind you, this is a man who has 3 kids. And this is a man who is raising his kids in comfort. And he said that he's afraid for his kids. And I was like, why? He said that he just watched a documentary. Mind you, just watched a documentary about a lion. So there was a zoo where they tried to get a female lion pregnant. So they brought in a male lion, thinking that at some point when she's on heat, what will happen? The male lion will be there as an option for her. But what happened next was kind of shocking because while they suspected her to be on heat, each time the male lion went close to her, she moved away. Mind you, she's kind of older than the male lion, so she's stronger. But they were kind of wondering what the problem is, what could be the problem? Why is the female lion running away? Does she not want to get pregnant? So somebody came up with the idea of letting the male lion hunt for his meat. So they kept the meat on a tree for the male lion to go and hunt for that meat. And while the male lion was struggling, jumping, trying to get that meat, it took him a while to get the meat. He discovered that the female lion began to come closer to the male lion. They eventually had an affair together. Then it dawned on him that struggling is not because of you lack resources. You struggle because that is your path to becoming a man. That is what makes you attractive as a man. You see, women on their own, women can just be, right? Women can just be, and guess what? Somebody will take them up. But as a man, nobody really cares. Nobody really cares. And For me, I had my own opening by myself. Mind you, I'm somebody, like I said, I grew up in comfort. My parents wanted me to have comfort until I kind of realized that, for thanks to mentors like Jordan Peterson, mentors like mostly Jordan Peterson, who gave me this idea of suffering. For me, reading the story of Buddha. So I got to realize that the way we see suffering is the problem. Think about it. People that go to the gym, they have a form of suffering that makes their body become better. Yeah, there are people who have abs, who have muscles genetically, but guess what? When shit hits the fan, those guys who were given the genetic lottery, do you think they can really back it up? Now, speaking of backing it up, I have a new mentor. Let me give you the story of how I met this mentor. So I went for an event, a fight show, because I'm new to MMA. So I'm like, let me go and experience like fight in person. So there was this man who was walking around, kind of big. He looks tough. I heard that he's a black belt, a third dan black belt in karate. He was walking around, and he asked somebody a question, a man a question. This man began to shout at him. And normally, if you know how to fight, you get to realize that shouting is a weak man's thing to do. So while you were shouting, I was like, so this guy realized that he's shouting at what they call it, a third degree black belt. And my instructor said, the man that is shouting can back it up. He knows that at least when push comes to shove, he can take the big man out. Then I began to make inquiries. I discovered that this man was right, ex-special forces, judo and everything. The reason he was shouting was because he was the one that hosted the event. And that was when he hosted the event. So at that moment, he was completely stressed. And he was shouting at the man because he wanted the man to feel humiliated. Obviously, he knew that there was never going to be a fight. But that idea that my instructor said he can back it up, that rang a bell in my head. That, think about it. In our generation, we preach a lot about confidence. Oh, you should look confident, because the more confident you look, the higher the chance of you getting the bag, you getting the woman. But no one talks about you being able to back it up as a man. No one talks about it. So there was a saying by Joe Rogan when he says, strive to be that man you pretend to be when you're trying to have sex. That saying till today rings a bell in my head, that we focus too much on looking the part. We never put in so much effort in actually being the part. But now let's look at the men who struggle. Look at anybody you admire, whether it's the president, they have a form of struggle. So if you get the idea that struggling is actually a part of life, that it is not a thing to be avoided, where do you start from? Start by having a goal. Even a goal itself, you're striving to your goal, towards a goal, is what makes you confident, makes you attractive. And let me tell you something. Women are also attracted to the struggle. You see that story of the lion? No, don't worry. Women are also attracted to that struggle. So, brother, ask yourself, how much struggle do you have in your life? If you're somebody who was born into comfort, I can tell you for a fact that comfort will not lead you anywhere. It only gives you that illusion that you have it under control. But when shit hits the fan, what can you really do? Can you back it up? That's why me personally, I am learning how to fight. Not because of I was going to fight on the road, but because it's exposing weaknesses that I thought I did not have. So that's why if you look at martial artists talking, precisely guys in the mixed martial arts, UFC, when they talk because they can back shit up. My name is Tonoreye. I always want guys to please, always have the best. I'm somebody who preaches about confidence, who talks about confidence. But look at your top self-improvement gurus. Have you realized that some of them now are beginning to learn how to fight? Before it was go to the gym, build muscles. Again, going to the gym is a struggle, it gives you pain. But now they've switched the message now to learning how to fight. All of them. Whether it's Hamza, whether it's Far From Weak, they've all switched their message to you learning how to fight. You picking a struggle. You leveling up as a man. So brother, that's why I'll tell you that learning how to fight is one of the most masculine things you can do in this life. But heck, even when I go to the gym and people see me boxing, I'm not trying to do it for their validation, for their attention. My boxing coach keeps telling me that he sees the way the women stare at me. He sees it more than me because, by the way, my boxing coach, that guy sees everything. He sees a lot of things. And I'm like, brother, heck, I'm not really doing it for them, but again, they like the struggle. It sort of turns them on. You see women who will go and lie down beside the punching bags while I'm kicking or I'm punching, just for attention. But heck, I don't really give them attention because that's not why I'm there. And most of them, I can't really talk to all of them, to be very, very frank, or else I wouldn't have time to do other things. So if you like what you heard, please share with as many guys as possible, because one message that I preach is for men to become well-rounded. And for you to become well-rounded, you have to embrace the idea of suffering. You have to be somebody who is able to back things up. You have to be somebody who has gone through the struggle, because in this life, as a man, struggling is your passport, is your ticket to be called a man. There's a reason nobody takes you serious as a man when you're in your 20s, even if you have money. Let me tell you the truth, because I know quite a number of girls who think I'm in my 30s, right? But when they hear I'm in my 20s, they have this ick, but they think about it that, oh, well, after all, he can back it up. That's because most guys in their 20s still look soft, still feel soft, right? So the reason women don't like guys in their 20s, so I can tell you for a fact that if you adopt that mindset of struggling, pick up struggles, do things. Heck, I made a video that went almost that. I made a video that got people talking. And the video says, they tell you to be a man that can drive automatic cars. They tell you to be a man who can shoot, or be a man who, if you're a man, if you're not a man if you cannot drive a manual car. You're not a man if you cannot lift 100 kg. But I tell you that it's not about the activities itself. It has more to do with the mindset. The mindset that you can do things other men cannot do. That is the real idea. That is the struggle I'm talking about. So please, I think I've spoken about this because topics like this that come from within are things that I'm grateful for talking about, and I can spend 20-30 minutes talking about it. But heck, I know that you're somebody who has time to do other things, and then I was like, thank you for staying this far. So please share this video. Let's get more men having this mindset of struggling and then becoming better versions of themselves. After all, the message is simple, men. You have to become well-rounded, because that is the future of masculinity, becoming well-rounded. Talk to you soon. Share this video, and bye for now.